Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb. You do have this weirdness with the load game. I exited it out, obviously, so we're crossing our fingers that when I load this, it will allow me to get to where we were. Seems like there is just straight up chapters, and so far in 2 hours we have been working our way through a lot of chapters. Now if we have on the page a artifact that we collected, that's probably where we did actually collect an artifact. And you can see the artifacts with some real visual quality here, at least for its age. But then this postcard probably indicates that I did miss a collectible. But then also, if I can go back to previous chapters, I could probably collect anything I missed. Like this Rivers of Fangs probably had a collectible I missed also. Although this like research paper, maybe that doesn't get replaced with a collectible. Maybe these are just kind of default images when there aren't collectibles. Our objective is to survive the trials of the Silent Guardians. But yeah, you select there. And then I guess at this point, if you wanted to change the difficulty, you might be able to pull that off. Although I don't think I really need to do that. And then we can look at the artifacts from this perspective. And if anything, this gives us a real good guesstimate on how long this game is. That if there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves and 2 columns, and we are at this point now, then I suspect we are slightly below 1/5 of the way through the game. I also realized that there is kind of obviously going to be a point where we leave this section, because the art, the banner art on Steam, shows Indiana Jones crossing a more western like bridge, something like that you would expect to see in either the United States or in the UK or Europe. Silent Guardians are sensitive to sound. You still have to get past the Silent Guardians. As that any will not make noise when walking on the grass. Interesting. So we have a whole stealth sequence here. Now what I've wanted is a puzzle. This doesn't feel like a puzzle. Will I make noise? It's like a giant bat. Will I make noise if I jump on grass? Seems like the answer to that is no. Seems like these are programmed to turn and look at you whatever direction you're in. So this definitely feels like more of a maneuvering puzzle than an actual puzzle. I guess you don't make noise when you crawl either. That's a great example of modern technology being developed in that we had the camera fly over to point us in a direction to show us where to go. Whereas earlier styles of games like this would have very possibly just left you to die over and over again and not given you any kind of hint at all.
That statue is some sort of trap mechanism. It seems to be triggered by sounds. Maybe I can trick it into shooting at something else.
So I guess they're statues. How do you throw something though? Y button does nothing. B button does that. So it is kind of a laser thing. Okay. So the general idea is to throw that way. Well, let's drink some water first. We can hit the right buttons. I just don't know what I was supposed to have done there. It seems to me like the throw either was going too far and not distracting him, or it was just not really programmed in any way that would succeed. It's interesting you have these piles of skulls, because that implies somebody is neatly organizing the skulls. We may get to a point where the game is not going to give me keep an eye out for the American, Von back wants his head. Was that the only one of them? Fairly loud waterfall happening over here. We've got a decent amount of shotgun shells, but I think you probably still would want to use the revolver first. And I assume if I just jump down there, there's not going to be an easy way back up. And we've already spent 2 hours in this game. We're seeing some visual glitches of the light clipping through. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if we finish this chapter fairly quickly and leave this area. It's worth pointing out just how less of a problem it is to have exact visual clones of the same enemies over and over again as it is to have the same audio spoken over and over again. There definitely should be at least 2 or 3 extra lines of dialogue that they would cycle through, even if it was just going to be fairly simplistic lines of dialogue, that one line would be said, then the next and the next, instead of potentially randomizing it or going into more advanced like cooldown timers so that you don't hear the line of dialogue but once every few minutes. Okay. So I guess in this case, the idea is to probably only gonna have so many chances here. Probably not throw it too far. So then you can get to one place. And I suspect you need to go the right direction. Probably need to also go in the right timing. Or potentially running into a problem here where we're not going to have enough options. That looks like grass there. So my assumption is I'm supposed to run towards the center and maybe climb, not just make a mad dash for the ground, the stairs. I find it odd that the idea here, though, would be that this is a interesting. I can't climb. Is there any safety at all in going to the stairs one way versus the other? I don't think there really is. So I don't get what this statue is all about. It may be just showing us what these statues are all about, is that they are statues and they are shooting things at you. But it's not like there's a switch or anything behind them. Okay. Now it does look like you could just go on the edges of this, but it seems pretty obvious the goal here is to jump. And if I threw a skull like, if I threw a skull in the fire, I'm sure that wouldn't really have done anything. And in this case, you want just like the absolute minimum throw. And that's the end of that chapter.
There it is, the heart of Uru-Watu.
I'd really have to question where I would have found a collectible.
Whoa! Looks like somebody's been overfeeding the fish. If I don't get that monster out of the way, this is going to be a real short swim.
So we've got a giant crocodile after having fought some crocodiles. We don't seem to have a way to refill water. We don't have the biggest of the maps. Now that down there looks like that might be another crocodile. Or it might just be a weird plant. Okay. My suspicion is that I'm supposed to do a throw, like probably let's throw in this far direction as far as we can, and then let's swim and see if that's good enough.
There must be a way to get that thing open.
So yeah, seems to me like I may have messed up there and I'm probably gonna die now. Let's just make a mad dash this way, since he's on the other side of the water. How do I get up? Yeah, he's just gonna work his way towards me and I'm gonna be doomed. Unless I could swim under and through the bars, which that doesn't seem likely. One hit kill. I did find something under the area, but I feel like I'm supposed to drain the water first.
There it is, the heart of Uru-Watu.
So I guess at a certain level this is a puzzle.
Whoa! Looks like somebody's been overfeeding the fish. If I don't get that monster out of the way, this is going to be a real short swim.
Did that splash actively push him to go in the other direction? Not really. Okay. It does look to me like this might be where we're supposed to go. And then we are just going to go around a very long direction. And see, here's a viney wall, but not the kind of viney wall I guess you would climb on. Or maybe it is the kind of viney wall you would cut down, even though we're not getting an interaction prompt. Noticeably though, like now would not be the time to probably gonna die here. We're seeing just no reaction at all. So if it's a case that these doors will open later, I don't know what the first action here would be. You can have the machete in your hands in the water.
There it is, the heart of Guru.
And look, we can even skip the cutscene.
Whoa! Looks like somebody's been overfeeding the fish. If I don't get that monster out of the way, this is going to be a real short swim.
So that did attract him. How long is that going to attract somebody though? Not a reasonable amount of time.
There it is, the heart of Guru.
It's nice that we can skip that. It's nice that we got our bullets back.
Whoa! Looks like somebody's been overfeeding the fish. If I don't get that monster out of the way, this is going to be a real short swim.
So it seems like what it boils down to is you need to wait until he gets kind of far away from you and just watch him. And it does kind of seem like he goes in fairly randomized directions. Of course, part of the problem here is I've forgotten what button does what. So I'm flailing around pressing the X and B button when it turns out it's the Y button that matters.
Whoa! Looks like somebody's been overfeeding the fish. If I don't get that monster out of the way, this is going to be a real short swim.
Is that distracting him in any way at all? I don't even know where he is. Clearly you only have a few seconds. That can't be the right solution. Everything else in this game has been easier than this. So it can't be that you're actually supposed to cut that at this point.
There it is, the heart of Guru.
So let's ask a different question.
Whoa! Looks like somebody's been overfeeding the fish. If I don't get that monster out of the way, this is going to be a real short swim.
Climbed up to that area. It just doesn't seem like this would be anywhere close to high enough to jump out of the water. It's over here. So pretty obviously the problem with that was a problem of visual interpretation. I think the idea probably is to get the guy, which I don't even know where he is. Like, for all I know, he's in here already, just like directly below me, but I think the idea is to get this alligator in this section, which may very well be more of a challenge around just waiting for him to swim at a random pace. Or it may be that I have to pull this that gives you a little bit of protection, but it's kind of unnecessary protection. It would make a lot more sense if you were trying to trap the guy in there, the crocodile. And then I wouldn't be surprised if the crocodile actually ends up I wouldn't be surprised if the crocodile actually ends up breaking out and then you have to capture him a different way. I have no idea where this guy is. He's like way over there. So I'm just gonna risk it. Come on. I bet this crocodile doesn't bang into the cages. You can see how these cages are very simplistic textures. Let's see. Is that safe enough to jump? Apparently it is. Craziness here may very well still be that even if we get to the final step, because I didn't capture the alligator, I may be doomed. Like, I only have so much health and so much oxygen. So all I can do here is hope to come up right on the right side of that. I was hoping to come back up on the cage.
There it is.
And we are back to square one.
Whoa. Looks like somebody's been overfeeding the fish. If I don't get that monster out of the way, this is going to be a real short swim.
Okay. If anything, I'm actually trying to get the guy to chase me into this section so that I could make sure he comes into that section. But I also have to have enough time to escape.
Whoa. Looks like somebody's been feeding the fish. If I don't get that monster out of the way, this is going to be a real short swim.
This is standard Tomb Raider type gameplay, where you're fighting a giant crocodile instead of fighting people with guns or magical creatures. Of course, you get killed enough, and I don't think too many people are going to complain about fighting this giant crocodile. Okay. Okay, if I pulled that off correctly, he should be in here. And he is. So just make that jump for safe. So unless he can break out, we now have a much safer experience as far as jumping. In fact, we can kind of assume enough safety to go check out this section now. Which we'll have to be fairly careful. There's nothing in there, though. And those plants don't machete. So I may have made a pathway where I could swim to some safety if necessary, but I just don't see why you would even bother to cover that with vines if there was not anything in there. I think it would have just made more sense to allow the player to have a little bit of safety. Wait till it stops spinning. Rotate. We'll even climb up a little bit. A nice good swing. And then pretty much if you chain a swing, I think you're probably safe at that point. We've been using these crocodile switches this whole time in the game, and they've become more appropriate. The game basically pointing me to jump this way. But I question whether you could ever actually make that jump. It seems like the real intention is to make you fall. This time we spin it this way. We'll go up a little bit too. And hopefully that'll work. And then we'll jump on that, and hopefully we'll make that. And it definitely seems to me like this is the next jump. I don't think I need to climb up anymore for this. Now I don't want to do a double jump because that would send me in the wrong place. What's weird about this, though, is you're still not getting that essence of Indiana Jones, in the sense that I don't really know what we're looking for or why we're collecting it. And usually you have that setup. In the Last Crusade, Indiana Jones is hired by somebody to find the Holy Grail, and then he says, well, forget it, I'm not interested in looking for the Holy Grail, that's my father. And then the guy goes, yeah, we know, that's the person we sent before, and he's gone missing. So then Indiana Jones has this like personal reason to seek out the Holy Grail. Basically the same plot line, or a very similar plot line, in The Last Crusade and Temple of Doom. Indiana Jones is basically trapped in India near the Temple of Doom, and still really wouldn't have acted if it weren't for the fact that the foreigners were like starving. So it looks like we're going to get this artifact and then leave via that area. Thank goodness there's no fall damage when falling in the water. So you do fall through there. And now this guy is trying to eat you. So it's giving you this whole chase sequence. Which I'm confused. Because while it's nice to be able to refill your water like this, you'd almost expect the whip to do something. I don't know where he is as a character. I don't know if I'm supposed to go back where we started, or if maybe the gate in that section is now open. There's just like nothing else here. There are some cracks around the back of this wall, as if it would seem like maybe you were supposed to break through this wall. But my guess is I'm probably supposed to swim through here and then maybe catch a break, which I very possibly won't, to swim through here and maybe trap him a second time. Is he even in this section? He was in this section. It doesn't seem like he is now. didn't open. At a certain level, it would make sense to just repeat your actions. Got some more skulls. Otherwise, I'm just running out of the gate the way I came. And that doesn't really make the most sense. Of course, this doesn't make the most sense either. This is going to take forever. Is it an infinite amount of skulls, or do you only have so many chances? It does just kind of seem like he's not coming this way, unless I'm in the water. Nothing else changed, so it would be very weird that now would be the time to fight. Even though maybe that is what the refilling of your health might be an indicator of.
Guten Tag, Dr. John. It's a beautiful day for swim, is it not? I would join you, but I forgot my bathing suit.
No problem. I can lend you mine. It's back at the hotel.
The famous American.
So we were just supposed to swim to this point for this cutscene.
I never really understood it.
Look, Hans or Klaus or whatever your name is. I don't know what you're talking about. But whatever it is, I'm sure we can cut a deal.
Very well. Here is the deal. You will give me the idol. Now.
Okay. Major point. I've got what you want right here.
Kill him!
So I guess it's a case where he was the only one with a gun. Frankly, it's a little quaint to have like 3 thugs and none of them have a gun except for the main bad guy. We did that completely without putting our hat back on. Now I'm seeing a loading screen right now, but I don't think my recording software is capturing that. The loading screen is showing the Indiana Jones flying from wherever we were in China to New York. And it was actually very nice looking, better than the graphics that we're seeing now in this cutscene.
Excuse me.
The exhibit hall is upstairs.
We are not tourists, Dr. Jones. I am Marshal Kaiti Chang, Chinese Republic. This is my assistant, Mei Ying.
Oh, what can I do for you?
Yep. Indiana Jones going after a Chinese lady. You're getting subtitles here.
What do you know about Jinxi Huangti?
The first emperor of China. He built the Great Wall and established a dynastic government that lasted for centuries. His reign lasted from 55 BC to...
That information can be found in the school, Dr. Jones. My interest concerns stories surrounding the Emperor's tomb. As you are undoubtedly aware, Emperor Qin is buried under Mount Li near the city of Xi'an.
Yes, that's about all anybody really knows for sure. According to the legends, Qin's tomb is an immense underground city filled with unimaginable riches, which took thousands of workers several years to build. After its completion, all those involved with the construction of the tomb were sealed inside. At least that's what the stories say. Due to Chinese superstition, nobody really
Interesting,
knows for sure.
flipping the book
Yes.
from right to left.
Chinese people have always held excavation and desecration of the tomb are one and the same. As a consequence, no one has ever been allowed to explore it. Until now.
Why are you coming to me with this? Chinese history isn't exactly my specialty.
It's your non-academic reputation that interests me. Have you ever heard of the heart of the dragon?
Only in Chinese folklore, it's a mythological artifact like Excalibur or the Holy Grail.
But unlike those flights of Western fancy, the heart of the dragon is quite real. A flawless black pearl that was buried with the Emperor. It's said that the heart possesses the power to control the will of men.
Look, I know you traveled a long way to see me, but I'm an archaeologist, not a mystic.
Then it's a good thing I came looking for an archaeologist. Superstitious folktales aside, the heart is a priceless treasure of the Chinese people. One that must never fall into the wrong hands. That is why China wants to find it.
Okay, let's say I'm interested. It'll take months of meticulous excavation to find the entrance to Chin's crypt. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
On the contrary, Dr. Jones, you've already begun.
Hey!
What the heck is that?
It is one third of the mirror of dreams. The mirror is the key to finding the crypt's entrance within the tomb.
You do not realize the magnitude of the events you've set in motion, Dr. Jones. Even as we speak, others are pursuing the two remaining pieces. If they get the mirror, nothing will stop them from entering the crypt, stealing the heart, and using its power to enslave the world.
I apologize, Professor. My assistant is cursed with imagination and an impetuous tongue.
Reminds me of my last date.
In any event, the British government has graciously allowed me to take possession of this art on China's behalf. We want you to recover the final pieces of the mirror, enter Chin's crypt, and recover the heart of the dragon. You'll become the most famous archaeologist in history. Will you help us?
A chance to become the first man in the Emperor's tomb? When do we leave?
I've already booked you a flight to Prague. It leaves tomorrow morning.
This contains everything you need to know. Read it on flight. Be careful, Dr. Jones. The path to the dragon's heart is more dangerous than you can imagine.
It always is, sweetheart.
As a nice cutscene, now we're back to the flying sequence from New York, I guess, to Prague. Nice cutscene there, maybe a little too long, particularly when you balance it out around the fact that you had to play 3 hours of that first level to even get to that point. I guess Indiana Jones, I mean, he was willing to sleep with Germans, so I wouldn't be surprised if he would have been willing to sleep with a Chinese person. But you do have to remember the time that this is set in, and that also points to probably a more important factor in that this Emperor's tomb that they're talking about, with the statues of warriors, thousands and thousands of statues, was found. It's basically a real thing. I don't know if the Emperor's heart, as far as a black pearl, ever showed up in the excavation, but that it's a real thing, and more than likely it was a real thing when this game came out in 2003, because they didn't find that at this point. That's one of the beauties I think you have around Indiana Jones, is because he is a character set into the 1920s, 30s, 40s, depending on what age you want to set him into. He can be involved in things that have already been settled as far as archaeological discoveries. It prevents you from having to do an Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull type story where you have to create a entirely different narrative that happens deep in the forest, so nobody really ever sees it, and it doesn't make the entire universe of Indiana Jones unbelievable, which really Indiana Jones's universe is somewhat mystical in Last Crusade and Ark of the Covenant, you basically see that there is a Judeo-Christian god or a force like that. So we're back to our old canteen. So that upgrade was not permanent. We have our whip. We have 6 revolver bullets. And noticeably we don't have a map at all. We're in the same outfit, but very different textures now. Buildings, streets. This is the bridge, I imagine. Yes, this looks exactly like the bridge that was in the banner. So now we have like a Luger. So, it is possible that there's only 3 area types. The Chinese forested area and the Prague area, and probably some other section. There's a thought here, obviously, to have some kind of stealth sequence. And let's do like 1 chapter, since we know the levels are long, in Prague, and then call it a day. Like, I could logically have just stopped at the beginning of this level. Well, if I think about this further, I assume people that don't have guns wouldn't drop bullets. So I probably should just be punching people that don't have guns. If we know that there are 2 more pieces of a mirror and then a final Emperor's Tomb section, which it's reasonable to believe that. He's pointing at something. So there's somebody through the wall there. That would imply that this is a place I don't think a lot of people would have an easy time finding. There is probably at least 4 more levels, I suspect, at similar links to the first level, which would put us at a 12-hour game. We are going to get different audio now, but it feels like these guys might be just better at boxing. Weirdly, it seems like we're going to be fighting Germans or Nazis anyways, as they race to potentially steal the Chinese artifact. But I also suspect that the Chinese guy is a bad guy. It seems very likely. I have a further suspicion, and this is kind of an early game to have that big of a twist, but I wouldn't be surprised if the assistant...
Do you have your papers? Nine. Not intimidating enough. Show me your papers now, please. Yeah, that's it.
Let's see if we can tap this and grab him. Interesting, put him in a whole headlock. Yeah, I suspect the assistant lady might be some kind of mystical, magical character. suppose it might be a case that she might also be working with the Germans or have her own interest. It is very typical that Indiana Jones would end up romantically connected or involved with the bad guy. Do I have to cross that direction to get over there? You can see when we get to these edges, they're using the textures of the forest again. So what really happens here? There is something up there. Med kits. I guess it's worth pointing out that we did have all those med kits and we lost them. The Luger seems to be not as strong.
This place is locked up tight. I'll have to find another way into the castle.
We are effectively just stealing the idea of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, of sneaking into the castle. There's no way to just start this car and have it crash through the gate. Okay. So just wild jump and hope that works. And then slightly different types of gargoyles to swing on. Took some fall damage because I swung from too high of a ledge. I do have to fairly question, though, whether there is a real reason to even bother to give us a fountain to refill our health at when it's going to be far in that direction, and then we're going to leave that section. And I'm feeling more and more comfortable, so it just doesn't feel that necessary to pull out your cantina and refill your health. And so that's the first chapter. And you can see that outside section is probably going to be constrained to a more castle maze-like section for most of this level, I would suspect. We'll do a lot of platforming, we'll do a lot of shooting and fighting and punching. We'll probably not do any puzzling. Doesn't seem like in this case we're going to get a map. I suspect we might find a cantina upgrade again in every level, but that's probably it. So there is a slight danger, because this is an older game, of it just moving fairly monotonously in a slow pace. We did run into a little bit of frustration avoiding the crocodile, but if that was the boss fight for that one level, then I suspect we'll be fighting similar crocodile animal type monsters for the remaining 4 levels or 3 levels that I suspect this game has. We did get a cutscene and we did get some story, but I also am probably going to be fairly disappointed as we spend the next hour or two going through this level in which we don't get any more cutscene or story. When we did get story, it felt like an Indiana Jones plot point. The only difference being that would have been a plot point that would have been in the first 20 minutes of a 2-hour Indiana Jones movie, not after 3 hours of gameplay. And maybe that highlights how trying to convert the concept of a 2-hour movie into a 10 to 60 to 200 hour video game often just would not work, and does not work. And nowadays, in modern times, we very rarely get direct attempts at making licensed products or spin-off games. If there is a Marvel video game, it's not trying to be anything like a Marvel movie. If there was going to be a new Indiana Jones game, I imagine it would be very different. And maybe that's something that helps the Tomb Raider reboots in particular, is that it doesn't really have to adhere to the feeling of a 2-hour movie. But yeah, even when we get a Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter game, like those games tend to not really try to retell the same kind of stories and same kind of experiences. Mostly they try not to give you the same kind of experience that you would get watching a movie. They add whole different types of gameplay mechanics and a reason for a lot more grinding and repetitiveness. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's a link down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.